Well, thank you for joining us today for our Wonderful Day in the Lord broadcast. We are looking at Revelation chapter 7 as we march our way through the book of Revelation. As we come to chapter 7, the first six judgments, known as the six seals, have been broken in chapter 6. And we've looked at that and saw what each of those indicate. Now, there's a seventh seal coming, but that's not going to come to chapter 8. So chapter 7 is an interlude. It doesn't progress chronologically. We're seeing in chapter 6 the scenes on earth. We see the judgments that are coming on the earth. Chapter 7 takes us to heaven, and we see what's going on in heaven at the very time that the seals are being broken on earth. So we won't get to the seventh seal to chapter 8. So let's take a look here at some of the events going on in heaven. In chapter 7, verse 1, it says, "After this I saw four angels standing in the four corners of the earth, holding back the four winds of the earth, so that no wind would blow on the earth or on the sea or on any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun, having the seal of the living God, and he cried out with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea, saying, 'Do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the slaves of our God on their foreheads.'" So he is saying basically to this angel, the seventh seal should not yet be opened. Instead, hold back, because something has to be done before we open that seventh seal. And by the way, the seventh seal will open up the other judgments that are found in the book of Revelation that takes us all the way up to chapter 19. So there's a lot of content in that final seal. So before he breaks that seal, and we see what that content is, he tells these individuals, these angels, to hold back. Then in verse 4, he said, "I heard the number of those being sealed, 144,000 sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel." And then he goes on to tick off 12,000 from each of the tribes. And that takes us all the way through verse 8. What that tells us is that God has not forgotten Israel. In many ways, the book of Revelation is focused on Israel. It talks in the Old Testament about the troubles of Jacob, and this is that time. This is a time prophesied as part of the day of the Lord in much of the Old Testament and several of the prophetic books in particular. And so Israel is still in focus. God has a plan for Israel, so much so that he identifies 12,000 Jewish people from each of the tribes that he mentions here, 144,000. So we know that these 144,000 are sealed in such a way that no harm can come to them until God allows for that. And of course, probably more people know about the 144,000 of people from the Jehovah's Witnesses who claim that they are the 144,000. Of course, nothing in Scripture teaches any such things. These are not Jehovah's Witnesses or even Gentiles. These are Jewish people that the Lord is protecting from the harm that is going to befall coming with the next set of seals and so forth. Next seal in chapter 8. So we pick it up now in verse 9, and it says, "And after these things I looked, and behold, a great multitude which no one could count, from every nation and all tribes and peoples and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes, and palm branches were in their hands." So now we move on to know that not only are Jews being protected from the judgments to come and from the power of the Antichrist, but so are the Gentiles. And it's a great multitude of people from every tribe, every tongue, every ethnicity, and the Lord is protecting them. These are going to be people that are followers of the Lord. These are not random Gentiles. These are people who have followed Jesus Christ during the time of the tribulation. And verse 10 says, "And they cry out with a loud voice, saying, 'Salvation belongs to our God, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb.'" And so they are crying out as disciples of Christ, followers of the Lord, and they say salvation belongs to God and to the Lamb. "And all the angels were standing around the throne and the elders and the four living creatures, and they fell on their faces before the throne and worshiped God." So we end this first section today by finding that all these creatures in heaven, and we've run into all these before, the four living creatures, the various angels and so forth, they're once again at this particular point in time falling before the Lord to worship Him. That is their task. That is what they're doing. And we'll see what they're going to do in the act of worship next time. But we find now, before that seventh seal is broken, that the scene in heaven is such that the Lord is going to protect a very important group of followers on the earth in the days to come. Now we'll pick up on the rest of that next week as we finish chapter 7, or tomorrow, as we finish chapter 7. We'll catch you then. Thanks for joining.